All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. First thing, I'm really nervous right now. I don't get nervous when I speak publicly anymore. I've been doing it for a living now for most of the last 6 years, but I'm really nervous about this one. Because of it, it's a lot easier when I'm representing my content. A lot of what I'm doing right now is, as we're going to talk about, is I'm representing content from sports business sales reps throughout this country. And so I just wanted to make sure I got that off my chest first. So I feel a little bit better about it. But first off, before we get going, I want to make sure I thank ISBI, Doug Quinn, Bill Gertine, and especially Ken Marinelli, who's behind the scenes on this call. More than anything, I'm in love with this product and with this platform and the potential for it, and how excited I am for the content that I'm going to be putting on today, and the content that I've already got on the platform, and the content that I'll be putting on it in the future. So I'm just really blessed to have a partner like ISBI for this opportunity, because if this was me trying to do this tech stuff, first off, it would fall apart. But second, this platform really is absolutely incredible. And so if you haven't checked out ISBI, I thoroughly encourage you to do it. Second, first off, I hope everyone here is healthy and safe. Thank you for coming. I appreciate all of you being here. I can't begin to tell you how excited I am about the content that I'm about to show you, and how humbled I am that all of you are spending time coming here. We had about 200 people that have requested the content from this session, whether or not they're going to be able to make it at this time. So like I said, I couldn't be more humbled, and I couldn't be more excited. And as I said at the front, I couldn't be more nervous to be here either. Really quick, if you don't know me, my name is Brett Zalaski. I know I see a lot of very familiar names here, but if you don't, first off, as you can see on the screen, I'm the founder of EmpoweredSalesperson.com, and I'm a ticket sales expert for the ISBI platform. I started my career, and this will be quick, way back in about 2005 at a company called the Corporate Executive Board, which has been popular over the last decade because they wrote a book called The Challenger Sale. While I was there, I was making about 200 to 250 calls a day, trying to engage chief marketing officers, chief advertising officers. So if you think about the hardest people on the planet to reach, that's who I was calling every single day, trying to schedule meetings for my boss to be able to go on. And so it forced me to be a very creative, thoughtful salesperson right off the bat. From there, I got an opportunity to go to the NBA League office in New York City. I was a part of their team marketing and business operations group, or as it's famously known in the industry, Teambo, where I worked to help G League teams, WNBA teams, and NBA teams focus mostly on their B2B sales process and corporate sales, while also doing a lot of projects on the side. So I helped start the WNBA team in Atlanta, the D League team, G League team in Erie, Pennsylvania, and helped sell tickets for the FIBA Americas tournament. From there, I was very lucky. I got 2 jobs right out of there that allowed me to be director of sales. One was in the National Lacrosse League for the Boston Blazers, and the old NWSL women's soccer for the Washington Freedom, before I got picked up by Major League Soccer's National Sales Center, which I really fell in love with teaching and coaching and training. So while I was at the National Sales Center for Major League Soccer, if you don't know much about the program, it takes people out of college or people for their first or second jobs and helps them, teaches them, trains them, coaches them, and then helps get them jobs in professional sports. Had about 80 people graduate that program, over 30 of them, so about 1 in 3 have actually gone on from my time there to become leaders in the sports industry. And from that role at the National Sales Center, I got senior leadership roles in sales with the Columbus Crew and the Houston Dynamo. My time at the Crew is something I'm particularly proud of, where we led Major League, I see Gady there, we led Major League Soccer in attendance growth in the 2 years that I was there, even though the team wasn't performing as historically well as they had been, which has led into my career now as a trainer and a coach. I've worked with over 70 organizations from a training or consulting standpoint. And over the last 2 years, I've created Empowerment of a Salesperson, or EmpoweredSalesperson.com, as you can see here, and please connect with me. And we're going to talk a little bit about how EmpoweredSalesperson.com has helped create this data-driven sales training. So hopefully, as you see the screen, I want to talk quick about how data-driven sales training came up with it, because when I started EmpoweredSalesperson.com, I didn't plan on creating data-driven sales training. That's really hard to say if you say it a lot over and over and over again. So to date, EmpoweredSalesperson.com, in 23 months, today is the 23-month anniversary of starting the platform, we've had over 40,000 people come to the site. We've created over almost 200 articles for the site. And the most incredible part about this is we've had over 850 people, sales reps, managers, vice presidents, right into the site requesting content for the site. That's why I'm able to stay as active as I am, because way more than a website, it feels like an ongoing dialogue with the sports business community and the reps and the managers that really make up the biggest part about this. So what I started doing about a year ago was categorizing all the requests that I had gotten in from the site, all 850, and started bucketing them into categories to see what are the training content that reps are really struggling with and truly struggling with. What are the ones that are rising to the top that individual reps are struggling with? I took those 850 in the buckets that I made, and what I did was I made 100 calls to low demand pro sports teams. And then I surveyed 100 sports business sales reps and 100 ticket buyers. All of that was done to confirm that the challenges I was hearing from reps are actual challenges in traction and education and training when it came to actually doing their jobs or how the reps thought about their jobs. And all the results from that are what I call data-driven sales training. So I want to make sure we get into the content quickly, but I want to talk about very quickly what's to come for data-driven sales training moving into the future. So first off, why are we doing this? We are in an incredibly different selling environment that we were even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And the need to innovate our training. When I say innovate our training, I don't just mean teams or managers. I actually mean myself. A lot of my training content and the way that I write and the way that I communicate with reps has changed because of what I've seen over the last 23 months, speaking and talking and working with sales reps. A lot of the training I was doing, even if it was on point a little bit, didn't necessarily handle the questions and challenges that reps were having themselves. And so I thought it was really important to start putting these into place and being able to execute on these things. So who's going to be doing this? First off, it's going to be myself. All the stuff that I've taken in from the empoweredsalesperson.com and being able to do it through an incredible platform, as you can see today, like ISBI. And what is it? Again, it is sales training that has been completely driven by sports business sales reps and the challenges that they've come with me and the challenges they've talked about with me. I'm incredibly grateful for that conversation and dialogue and what we're going to be able to do here. It's all going to be digital. It's all going to be on this incredible platform. When am I going to start making a real sales pitch to y'all? When we have more clarity on coronavirus. We thought, ISBI and I had a conversation about this. We wanted to do two things with this. First, this wasn't when it was going to come out. This was going to come out later. But we saw an opportunity to be able to first present this, but also we feel like the topic that we're going to be talking about today is incredibly important in the time frame that we'll be able to do it. So as you can see, this was supposed to be a 6-week paid thing. We're making it a 5-week paid thing, and we're lowering the cost of the overall platform because we felt it was really important to give away this content and this opportunity right now so you can see what we're going to be talking about, but also just because of what we're going to be talking today is something that I believe is really critical and really important. And so what do you get for the money that you spend? As you will with this episode today, all people will get access to the live call. All teams will get access to the live call. You'll get a recorded copy of each call. You're all being recorded right now. You're going to get the PDF copy of all the slides that you see. And then I'm going to make myself open to direct access for all email, all phone calls to help and support as managers try to integrate this into their training and as sales reps try to integrate this into the way that they communicate with their clients and their customers. Whew. The topics we're going to be covering. I'm so excited about this. First off, whenever session 2 goes, some of the stuff we're going to be covering are effective questioning, group sales fundamentals, and selling to multiple decision makers. Again, these are all things that reps have written into the website that they need more content about, that they're not getting the support from their teams that they need in these topic areas. The second session, or session 3, using group links to sell, self-prospecting, and maximizing game nights. Session 4, more rep-driven topics, objection handling, B2B sales, and creating urgency. And finally, the top 2 things that reps have requested, and there really is a line underneath these things from everyone that's written into the site, is lead qualification. How do I properly qualify the people that I'm speaking to? And time management. How do I most effectively spend my time? And I honestly think the people that have written in will understand some of this, but a lot of the managers, you will be shocked at what your reps are writing in about when it comes to all of the topics here, but most specifically about lead qualification and time management. That's going to be an incredible topic that we talk about. And then finally, I'm going to be able to take all the insights that I've learned from the Google Analytics of my website What days of the week are best to train on? What times of day are best to train on? What topics are having the most time on the website? What are the most read topics on the website? We're going to talk about that, all that during the last week, so managers can understand. What are the managers and directors can understand? What are the most important things that we do from a training standpoint, and how can we make sure that our training really, really resonates with our reps today? Whew. That's the first part. Really excited to continue to go, because that's not what you're all here for. You're not here for the sales pitch. You're here for the training content. So one of the things that reps have continuously written into the site about, in some form or another, what I'm finding, and in my individual conversation with reps and in my individual phone calls I made to the teams, there's a fundamental misunderstanding about the purchase environment that sports business sales reps are selling into right now. And so what you're going to see here is going to be the framework for all the discussions, all the training content that we have. But again, I think this one's really, really important, because right now, as crazy as a 2020 selling environment would be, we're obviously in an even more crazy environment with the coronavirus pandemic that's there. So I can't think of a topic that's going to be more relevant if your reps are going outbound right now and having these conversations and communicating with these people. It's important that we understand them, what drives them, and what pushes them to want to make a decision, if they are, to be able to work with our teams right now. If you have questions during this time, you'll see there's a chat there. Please write those questions into the chat, or you can save it for the Q&A at the end, and I'll be happy to go about checking those out. So you can see, first of all, when you see the page, let's frame the problem first. So for every single one of these we're going to frame the problem using the real words that sports business sales reps have written into the website in the ways they're directing the content. When I'm selling to fans, many of who have only come to one game, I feel like I'm jamming a square peg into a round hole. And doing that over and over and over again is driving me crazy. What can I do to avoid this? An MBA inside sales rep. Second, how do I avoid ghost accounts? I keep getting the information to people and I keep having them never call me back. That was an AHL group sales rep. And then finally, how do I get someone on the phone? Literally said by almost every sales rep that I talk to in today's day and age. And what's neat about this is all of these are probably, or are going to be covered in a lot of the topic areas that you saw before, but they also all fit into one larger, bigger challenge that we just discussed. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of how people purchase in the environment that they're in. So to continue to give you some more context about that environment, take a look at this page. If you look on the left side of this page, this is what is the ticket buyer market today. Again, these were conversations that I had in a survey I did with 100 people who buy tickets in today's day and age. And these shocked me. Like, a lot of the hypothesis I talked about came true. These numbers that you're going to see on this screen shocked me, and hopefully they shock you, whether you're a sales rep or you're a sales manager, and hopefully start that thought process about what are our clients looking for when they're purchasing with us right now. The first is, have you ever received a phone call from a sports team or a college attempting to sell you tickets? I hypothesize that about a third of the people that I called or reached out to, we're going to have had conversation with that. I mean, I had known I had tickets for a pro sports team in the past, and I had never received a phone call from a pro sports team. So I just assumed it was going to be about 33%. This number was mind-blowing. Out of the 100 people I surveyed, 60 of them, almost double what I hypothesized, had conversations with sports teams, direct conversations with sports business sales reps. As I take a sip of water, I want that to sink in for a minute. That's an incredible number. First off, congratulations to the reps. We are clearly getting outbound as an industry and talking to our fans in a way that is substantial. However, if you look at the next slide, how we are reaching out to them is not meaningful. So if you look here, and I know it's a little bit tougher to see on this probably, the thing here that shocked me was that over 50% of the people that we talked to purchase their tickets from the secondary market first. So even though the majority of people, the vast majority of people are having conversations with our front office, they are still going to the secondary market as the primary place that they purchase tickets with our organization. We're going to make this worse before it gets better, but hopefully that sends chills down the spines to a lot of the people that we're speaking to here. And my guess is that when we start playing games again, these numbers may only go up. Like I said, it's going to get worse before it gets better. In my conversations with fans, only 21% of fans had what they would have categorized as a positive interaction with the front office. So out of the 60% of the people who had a conversation with a front office of a pro sports team, only 21% of those people had a positive interaction with the front office. Yikes. 11% said they had a rep that they work with consistently. Double yikes. We want our sports business sales reps to be people that our fans look to find information, to have conversation, to deliver what we're talking about. And the reality is the vast majority of them do not see us that way. And this includes people that have season tickets. So while the majority of those people were on the secondary market, a lot of those people still had season tickets too, and don't see that from us. And receive a phone call and have a conversation. I call those people in the same bucket. That's 60%. Thanks, Joe, for that question. And then 1%, and this is the scariest number here, and I hope everybody that's on this phone call takes this seriously. Only 1% of those fans felt empowered to purchase tickets because of their interactions with the front office. That number should chill our managers to the bone, and it should make every single sales rep here take a deep look at how they're calling, how they're interacting, how they're presenting information, and how they're connecting with buyers in this marketplace. And the last number, honestly, was one of the most surprising in a sad way, and it'll get better in a minute. It was a surprising in a sad way number to me. Out of the 100 sports business sales reps that took my survey, I would consider a lot of these sales reps incredibly proactive, incredibly thoughtful. If they're going to go out of their way to take the survey, and my guess is a couple of the people who took the survey may be on this call here, I would think of these people, again, as some of the most proactive, thoughtful sales reps. Because if you're going to go out and take a survey from a sales trainer, you got to care about your future. Only 1 in 2 said that they believed their job was to make a recommendation to their client. Only 1 in 2 saw them as an expert in the conversation. Half the people who made that call said their job was to pass along information or get the client to like them. That, to me, is the scariest number overall. If you are getting on a phone and you do not consider yourself an expert, if you do not consider yourself as a person whose job it is to make a recommendation, what are you doing? Because here's the analogy I always try to drive. I buy suits at Joseph A. Bank, and I know they're known for their buy one, get 11 free. When I walk into the store, I am always jumped on by a salesperson because a lot of them work on commission. That person comes up to me and asks me a ton of questions. What brought you to the store? What are you looking for? What color? What are your measurements? They ask me a million questions. Now, what if I answered all of those questions? I answered all of those questions. And then they said, well, the whole store's right back there. Good luck. That is essentially what we are doing as salespeople. We are asking them a lot of questions. We are engaging them. And then we're pointing to the store behind us and saying, hey, all the information is over there. Good luck. Again, as we are about to talk about, that is a fundamental misunderstanding of how people buy things in 2020. Okay, so I know that was sobering. I know that may be upsetting for some. I know that may be negative for some. Maybe we lost some people along the way. They thought this was going to be typical happy Brett. We're getting here now. Now it is time for happy Brett. Because there is a real opportunity here to change the way that we engage with our fans and fit fundamentally into the way that people purchase things today. And so I want to make sure that the people on this, the sales reps you work with, find a way to be able to fundamentally understand the buying behaviors of the people they're selling into so they can be more thoughtful in the way that they sell it to. And I love the people jumping on here and talking about the different organizations are working for. Keep doing it. So what is that? That opportunity is personalization and customization. You can look here. The statistics are sobering. Customers are more likely to buy from someone who recognizes them, recommends options based on past purchases, knows their purchase history, or offers any of these three options. Customers are 59% more likely to say that personalization influences their shopping decision. And the last one is the most important one. 78% of consumers will only engage offers if they have been personalized to their previous engagements with the brand. And we have the opportunity to be able to do this. And this is what I'm incredibly excited to talk about right now. So what does that mean for a sports business sales rep? How can we just modify? This shouldn't be shaking the entire way that we do it, but how can we modify what we do and how we approach people with the customer on the other end of the phone in mind? So let's talk about when we reach out and when we engage the prospect. And let's start with understanding buyers' expectations in 2020. First, a buyer's expectation in 2020 is that you know me and you wow me. You fundamentally understand who I am, and you want to impress me, you want to wow me, and you want to engage me. And that phone and email are two, and just email, I say just email, just words on the page, are two of the least opened formats that people do it. So people want you to know them, they want you to recognize them, and they don't want a phone call, and they don't want an email, or just don't want a phone call, or just don't want an email. So how can a rep use this? If you saw any of my webinars with Bill Gertine that we've done since this started, you'll understand that I'm a huge believer in video. And I'm a believer now that we need to do some form of video or electronic introduction to people before we make that first phone call to them. If you asked me that question 5 years ago, make that phone call first. But I fundamentally believe right now, before we reach out to someone, we need to give them a reason for them to be able to speak to us. And I believe that video is 100% one of the best ways to be able to do that. A video of introduction of the rep before they make a phone call. I'll be your point of contact. I'll be your sales rep here. That gives that rep the option, that gives the buyer the option to be able to see their face, understand who they're going to be able to be working with, so they don't have to look them up on LinkedIn, they don't have to look them up on Facebook, or they don't have to avoid a person they don't believe knows. And if you look at any statistics, video emails are opened 30 times more in a lot of cases than a traditional email is. It is nuts, it is crazy, and it works. And second, when we reach out to them, whether it's on the phone or in an introductory email, we need to make sure that we recognize them as a person who has been a purchaser of our organization in the past. If it's B2C, or give a B2B person a reason to want to connect with us. So for example, if this was a B2C call and we're calling a ticket buyer, you should include a video of a highlight of the game that you know that they went to, or a picture from the game that you know that they went to. If you're maybe reaching out to a business, maybe in that introductory email or that introductory video, highlighting an organization that you've gotten confirmation from that already works with us. They want to be recognized and understood as a potential group lead, as a potential B2C buyer, as a potential B2B buyer. They want to be recognized for who they are in the initial way that we introduce ourselves to them. And I believe the best way to be able to do that is digitally and with video before we make that introductory phone call. And again, that is a fundamental change from what I believed as a salesperson, even as few as maybe even 3 or 4 years ago. And then finally, if I'm a sales manager or I'm a sales rep, what's important to know to be able to teach here or to be able to understand here? And first, we need to creatively use the information that we already know about clients in the engagement process. If you're writing an email, and this is someone that's been called by another rep before, can we use the name of their kids or their dog or their favorite player, the information that's already in our database, in the way that we reach out to them? That allows them to feel and be recognized in the way that we do it. And we need to push reps constantly to think about how we can use video in our sales process, how we can use pictures in our sales process, and how can we personalize the buying process and engage them. Whew. Hopefully that's fun and exciting and inspiring, way more than those statistics were. But I don't want to leave you just with engaging the prospect. I want to understand the idea of engaging on a phone call. So a few months ago, I bought a Maren Morris vinyl album. And because I bought a Maren Morris vinyl album off Amazon a few months ago, I get emails almost every single week that tell me that I need to buy other albums on vinyl. And it works sometimes. I'm going to be honest here. It works sometimes. This is what's important to understand about buyer expectations. We touched on it in the last one, but it's more important that we think about it when we're engaging them in a phone conversation. In 2010, knowing information about the buyer was super creepy, even as soon as that long ago. In 2020, as we saw with the statistics, buyers understand that you know everything about them, and they want you to use that in the way that you personalize your conversation towards them. Wow, that's really, really cool. And guess what? Nobody's doing it. No team is taking that information and using the information they know about buyers in the upfront way that they communicate and speak to people. But our buyers are looking for that. So we need to start thinking about our opportunities to be able to do that. So how can a sales rep do that? First, set the agenda with this knowledge in place. I see that you came out to 3 of our games in 2019. I see that you came out to the game with LeBron James came into the house in 2019. Is coming to just games when it fits your schedule important? Or is coming out to games with big opponents something that really drives you? And then use this information, as I just did, in the way that you question people. When you came out to our games, I see that you like to sit in this seat location. Why? What about that seat location stands out to you? So if I'm a rep or I'm a manager teaching this to a rep, here's some really important things to know. First, start using previous information. Previous information is not just acceptable in a phone call. Previous information holds power in that phone call. It establishes you as a trusted expert because you did your due diligence to understand who they were before this conversation and what might resonate to them. And it allows that prospect and that client right from the start to feel like they are understood in that conversation. That's fun, right? We should all make sure that we see this as a real positive opportunity in a way that a lot of reps aren't doing this, whether it's on the B2B side, again, on the B2C side, or the other one, or on the group side. And so finally, let's talk about getting a sale. How do we use this information to be able to get a sale for us? I want to go back to that slide where I said 48% of people believe their job is to get someone to like them or to pass along information. That was scary to me because I meant 1 in 2 of proactive reps weren't seeing their job as gathering information to make a recommendation. That was scary to me. What could be seen as a positive is that more than 1 in 2, slightly more than 1 in 2 do see their job as making a recommendation to someone. And as you can see, and I love the stat, 78% of buyers in that study, the vast majority of buyers overall, not only want you to do this, they demand that you do this. They demand that you take the information in and make a recommendation from it. I don't care where you stand on Barstool Sports. Someone who had done my sales training alerted me to this great story that Blake Bortles told on Pardon My Take. And what Blake Bortles said on Pardon My Take was he was in the process, he just went on the Tesla website. And on the Tesla website, it says customize a Tesla. So I was like, all right, cool. You know, I'll check it out. I just signed a big contract. I got some money. I'll look into this. I'm not going to buy it right now, but I want to understand what some of the features and functions and things that I can ask for were. And so as he went on, he started clicking things, taking ownership of it, taking power in it. And by the end of it, it said, here's your $130,000 Tesla. Would you like to buy it? At that point, because it understood him, it knew him, it customized for him, and it personalized for him, and it made a recommendation for him, Blake felt ownership over what happened, and he clicked buy. Again, don't care where you stand on Barstool Sports, or pardon my take. I thought that story was a fascinating way to get into the buyer mindset of how people purchase things in 2020. And so it is our job to make a recommendation, because more than anything, that recommendation is for the buyer. There is no downside when you make a recommendation as a sports business sales rep. When you say, hey, I hope you like me, there is a ton of downside. It's called ghosting you. They like you, they don't want to say no to you, so they ghost you. There is a ton of downside in giving away all of our information. They believe that they now have our information, so what's the point in engaging with a sports business sales rep anymore? So again, they become a ghost account. When you make a recommendation, there is no downside, because it gives the buyer a crucial pivot point in that conversation. If they say yes, awesome. All we have to do right now is create urgency to get them to understand why they need to make that decision sooner or later. Let's say they say no. That's still awesome, because all we have to do in that moment is just say the simple words, why not? I just think the price point's too high. Great. We have all these levers that we can pull to pull the price point down. We can customize the way that they purchase their payment plans, so they'll be able to afford it more each month. We can change the amount of games they can come to, the amount of tickets they're buying, the seating location. We can talk about some of our ticket exchange programs or opportunities to be able to do that. And what we can do is take their reason why not and negotiate with them to get them to understand how it's not as expensive as they thought. There is no downside to making a recommendation. So how can a rep use this? First, you need to get enough information to make a recommendation. I don't know if we have any National Sales Center people here. I'm sorry if there are, but I don't believe 20 open-ended questions is the proper amount of questions to ask someone. That's a lot of open-ended questions. What we need to do is we need to ask enough questions to be able to answer three things. And this is true: premium seating, B2B sales, group sales, or B2C sales. We need to be able to ask enough questions to understand the number of seats they need to purchase, the seat location that they want to purchase in, and the type of package that they want to purchase. Now, that could be a season ticket package, a partial plan package, a group package, whatever that is that they're buying, a hospitality package, whatever it is. That's the type of package they could buy. So until we can answer those three questions, we should not stop asking questions, and all the questions that we should ask should be able to fit there. So when it becomes time that we know we have enough information, which probably is going to be in the range of about 11 to 15 questions, we can do what's called, as you see here, present a trial close. And I think this is really important. Just a thought. Before I present this close, I want to say just a thought. I want to make sure they know that I'm not actually asking for a sale here. What I'm trying to do is enter into a negotiation at this point. I want to hear their idea. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to understand their feedback to what I'm about to tell them. Just a thought. And then you need to make that recommendation. And I love the phrase, and you can change both of these up, but I love these two phrases: just a thought based on what you told me. That phrase is incredibly powerful, because as we talked about with Blake Bortles, that is your way of personalizing and customizing and say, I hear you, this is why I'm saying this. Blake Bortles doesn't get that car unless he gives all his ideas to Tesla, and Tesla makes the car for him. They have the expectation that if they give that all their information, even though they're taking ownership of it, it's our job to let them know what that recommendation is. Just a thought. Based on what you told me, I think these 4 seats in this seat location at this price point is the absolute perfect one for you and your family as you walk forward here. What do you think? At the end, I want to make sure I include them back in. So what's important to walk away from here? What's important to know here? What's important to teach here? First off, there's no downside to making a recommendation. In fact, that is what the buyer is looking for in 2020, and that should be incredibly exciting for everyone here. They want you, they need you, and they understand that, and they're looking for it. And second, make sure that we work on and we practice focused questioning. Answering the questions: what is the number of seats in this package? What is the seat location in this package? And what is the type of package that we are offering to this individual? There's an incredible game that I'm happy to share with any managers or reps here. It's called Pass the Poop. I didn't make the name of it up, but it's working with other people in a circle to ask questions about the person in the middle of the circle, one question at a time. And that forces you to focus your questioning because you do not have complete control of the questioning. It's an incredible game. I'll pass that along. That is an individual way that managers can work with reps to make sure that they are doing that focused questioning. And I love what Mackie jumped in on here. It's an incredible line, and it absolutely works because it gets them to understand that even though I'm saying this, this is a personalized thing for the person that's buying. Whew. I wanted to make sure that we spent a lot of that time really fundamentally focused on how do we understand who the buyers are, how do we understand what as an industry that we've done and we have been doing and where those frustrations have come from sales reps, but also here hopefully providing information and opportunity to be able to understand who the buyers are and then look at really practical ways that either managers can teach this into the sales process for their reps, or reps can start incorporating some of these things, because hopefully what you've seen here is nothing in here should completely drastically change the way that you interact with people or the scripting that maybe your team uses. What it should do is it should change your mindset and create fundamental pivot points that'll put you in a much, much, much better position to be able to make sales moving forward. So again, that's the focused content we have for today. I want to make sure that we open this up for any questions that people in this audience have specifically about this information. You can put this information to the public chat here, or I believe you can also put it into the Q&A that's there, so maybe you won't be able to see it. And I'll spend 1 minute taking a drink of water before we ultimately move on here. Any questions? Let's go, people. This is the interactive part. But based on what you told me, do you recommend the reps using 3 points from the conversation? Absolutely. And what a rep can do better, and I probably should have said this, is justify each one of the points. 2 seats because you said this seat location because you said this ticket package because you said this. Matthew, I love that question because I think it's really, really critical that we also justify exactly what we're saying here. What forms of video do you feel are the best ways for a reps to introduce themselves? I absolutely 100% make no money. You can ask Sati Hillier. I believe organizationally, One Mob is an incredible way to be able to track, produce videos and do all that stuff. But if you're not going to use One Mob, I absolutely reps use their own phones. I recommend them uploading them to YouTube and getting their manager input before they start sending these things out individually there and editing some of those videos in that way. And then Brian, a question but a comment, was glad to see the 60% of results on the ticket buyer. Hearing from a rep at a team. I know I've season tickets at 2 teams and I've bought tickets from an MLB team, and I've never heard from a rep in 15 years, including a service call. That was my experience when I was a season ticket holder as well. And so it was. I said that number was much higher at the front. Like I said, the reps here should take that as a positive. And now imagine if we're able in that 60% to be able to influence 2, 3, 4, 5 more percent by the way that we think about the buyers. And I think that's what's really critical about understanding what we're doing here. Just because you change this form and function in the way that you communicate with our buyers doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're going to be closing at 100% of the conversations that you have, or all of a sudden you're going to be engaging at 100%. But the real value here is an understanding that if you increase open rates 3, 4, 5%, if you take the influential people and close 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% more of those people in a week, that may not be huge results, but in a year, those are huge results. If we're in more conversations, if we're in more negotiations, And if we're closing more sales, those things add up incredibly across the course of a year. Next, in Cincinnati, we currently do not have a video software. What would you recommend to use in lieu of a one-mod type system? Like I said, I think YouTube is great. I think these things should be private. They should not be publicly searched, which you can do on YouTube. And I would make sure that managers have access to these to be able to see them before they go out. BombBomb is another great one. Also, do you have examples of intro videos that you would be willing to share? It's actually really cool. Sati and I have talked about this, but we've talked about actually making some up ourselves. And so I'd be more than happy to, I'd actually be more than happy to be able to do that. And I'll work with Sati to be able to provide some of those videos back to people. What are the key pieces a rep should include when introducing themselves through video? That is a phenomenal question. First off, I think it should be who they are, what they represent. I think it should be why they love working for that team. I talk about this guy, and Gady will know this guy in my training a lot. There's a guy named Big Country who worked for us at the Columbus Crew. He was an inside sales rep, big football player, had never really been a soccer fan before he did this. But what he used to always say when he was on there was, I don't know nothing about this soccer thing, but when that hooting and hollering in the fans, woo boy, no place I'd rather be than right here. And it just connected with people because it got them to understand what he loved so much about the experience. It wasn't exactly what was on the field. It was what was happening in the stands. Maybe that's for you. But there needs to be a very personal connection in that video to why you love your product so much and why you're so excited about this product. Hopefully you can see through my nerves and my excitement how excited I am about this product. And so you want to make sure that comes across in the way, and that you want to make sure in that video you say, I am going to be your ticket salesperson. Whether that's the next week or the next month or the next year or ad nauseum forever, I'm going to be your ticket person. I want to be the person that you reach out to. I love this line, and you can use it, steal it, change it. I want to be a resource, not a nuisance. How creepy should we get with info we can find? Stick to what we have in our CRM or dive deeper into their social channels? Referencing family member names work for Pablo Escobar. I love that question, but not sure our fans would appreciate it. But where would you draw the line in terms of info to reference? I think anything that you've got in your CRM that you've collected that way is fair game. And I would say, especially when you're reaching out to businesses, anything that you see off of the corporate website or anything that you see off LinkedIn, I think all of that is fair game. That is very, very public. But if you're calling a business and you're talking about their wife and family, or they've never talked about their wife and family to the organization, and we start talking about it with them on the phone, I don't think that's fair game. I think that verges into creepy. But a lot of times we use that as, whoa, it's creepy to do it, period. I think any information that your organization has collected on them, anything that's on a corporate website or on LinkedIn, I believe all of that is 100% fair game. Anthony Gady, just a comment: when a person looks down at their phones and see that a person from the front office is calling, they should be excited to hear from us, not they are calling again. Yep, Gady was a sales rep for me back in the day. He knows we talked about this all the time. I want to be a resource, not a nuisance. Carmen, absolutely, we'll go from that. I know we say people buy from people they like and they connect with. More than anything, they buy from people that they trust. And I think that's really important, and why the video is so important up front, and why it's important to talk about what connects you to the product more than anything else, because they need to trust you to buy from you. I use this example when I work with teams all the time. You have a universe of people that you like. How many of those people would you loan $5,000 to? My guess is that universe of like shrinks drastically when it comes to loaning people $5,000 for you. You'd loan that, though, to people that you trust. People will not spend money with you if they just like you. That's when they'll ghost you. People will spend money if they trust you. Jack Vincent, a great author, said, a great sales author that I love, said, the one thing that mitigates risk is trust. And because we are not a needs-based product, we are 100% risky unless we can get their trust. What are your thoughts on an intro video to a completely cold prospect? I'm good with it. I'll work with Sati on it. I know in those times we should lead with empathy and not be pushing sales, but how should we get our reps to create urgency for a season that has not started yet? For example, Major League Lacrosse. I think that's an incredible question. I think one of the biggest things that we should be doing right now is presenting all the information that we have available to us and allowing them to make the decision whether or not they want to get in the conversation with us. Get through the intro of the discussion, say, I hope they're well. Here's the information that we know and that we understand right now. If you don't want to have a sales call right now, I'll call you back as we get closer to the season. But if you're up for a conversation, I'm in for a conversation. And I believe that's how we should be leading our agenda right now. I'm consulting with a combo USL G League organization right now, and we're finding success on the renewal side. We're finding success on the new sales side, and a lot of it is with people who have opted into that conversation with us. And Mackie, right now is the best time to collect the info on people that our reps normally do not have time when games are being played. I couldn't believe, I couldn't trust that or understand it or believe that more. I just wrote about that on our website, my website, empoweredsalesperson.com, over the last few weeks. I think hopefully I'll end there. Please, by all means, connect with me. Shoot me an email. Any questions that you have that you didn't want to ask publicly here. Please follow me on Twitter. If you follow me, I'll follow you back. I'm close to 2,000, so please follow me. And then LinkedIn, feel free to connect with me. And obviously, please check out empoweredsalesperson.com if you haven't. I noticed that when I receive a correspondence from real estate agents and some other industries, their email signatures include a photo. What does the data show about open rate emails that have photos in their signature? Photos, period, increase open rates. Photo of you, photo of anything else, photos increase open rates. Season seat reps often have a natural touch point throughout the season and are able to collect personal important facts about their client. How would you develop natural, consistent relationships with group leaders? The exact same way. I think group relationships need to stop being 3 to 4 month relationships, and they need to be 12-month relationships. You should have a follow-up immediately after that, and then you should have times every single month. And now is a perfect, when we're not playing games, is a perfect opportunity to go back to all your group leaders and have those individualized conversations. What worked, but more importantly, what didn't work? What can we do better for the coming season or the opportunity whenever we're going to be doing this? Please check out the website. There's a lot of content right now on coronavirus. Please shoot me an email, shoot me some information, how you thought about the content here, how you thought about the format and the presentation of the content here. Reach out to me on all those channels. Reach back out through ISBI and this platform. Like I said, I'll be back out to most of the people here about talking about the content and the platform, and we go in further detail once we get a little bit more clarity around the coronavirus. But again, I couldn't be more excited about this content. Again, this was just the start. A lot of the stuff that's coming up is going to be even cooler. It's going to be even more fun, and it's going to be incredibly impactful. And it's going to change the way that I believe a lot of us managers and salespeople see the way that we need to sell in 2020. So I'm, again, appreciative, grateful, thank you, and certainly hope to be able to have this conversation, continue this conversation moving forward. Bye.